In the first 10 minutes of The Northman, a character lets out this epic fart, and it was in that moment I realized I was going to love this movie. The Northman is Robert Eggers' third feature film, and if it wasn't abundantly clear, I'm a huge fan of Robert Eggers. My newest short film, The Fish, is obviously very deeply influenced by The Witch. The thing about Eggers that I've always really liked is his ambiguity within his filmmaking. A lot of the storytelling is put upon the audience to sort of fill in gaps. He really doesn't spoon feed information through his writing. A lot of it is just completely open to interpretation, and that's something I really enjoy. I really like watching movies that make me go, what the hell's going on here? Like, I have no idea what's happening. I'm just immersed in a world and an experience, and I can think about it for days and years to come about what it actually meant and what it was trying to convey and its deeper meanings, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm just a big fan of that, and it definitely influences a lot of my work. If you haven't seen my short film, The Fish, please go check it out. There's a link somewhere on screen for you to watch that. And this is what's interesting about The Northman, because The Northman, in my opinion, is probably his most commercial and accessible film. It's essentially Gladiator on mushrooms. It's a very classic revenge tale. And I'm not sure if it's maybe a response to some criticism that I think people have with either The Witch or The Lighthouse, where they just kind of walk away being like, what did I just watch? Honestly, that's why I love his films, but I can see how his studio would maybe push him in a direction to be a little bit more traditional, in the sense that let's actually give an audience a satisfying narrative and let's not leave too much into interpretation. Let's go a little bit simpler here. And I think they found a really nice balance, because it's still very Robert Eggers. This movie is incredibly weird. Like I said, in the first 10 minutes, there's like a fart scene. This is a really fun, kind of silly, goofy, weird, dark, gritty movie that I think a lot of people are just gonna have a lot of fun watching it. It's gonna satisfy an audience that liked a movie like Green Knight, but also a movie like The Last Duel or Gladiator, where it's just a very classic, simple storyline, but then it's peppered with all this sort of lunacy and craziness that Robert Eggers is known for, and his visual style. And the movie itself is rooted in an incredible performance from Alexander Skarsgård. This guy just absolutely brings everything into this role. He's really becoming an actor that I'm excited to see on screen as a leading man, which is fascinating because, you know, studios gave him a shot with Tarzan years ago, and you could kind of say a similar role where he's just playing a brute force. But in this film, you can really see the power of a great director, and Robert uses Alexander's presence and his force to maximum effect. The guy barely speaks in this film. He mostly growls and screams and gnarls and just gross things coming out of his mouth constantly, and you're just like, yes, absolutely, please more of that, pump that shit into my veins. I guess you can say Anya Taylor-Joy is now a frequent collaborator with Robert Eggers, and she's absolutely fantastic in this film as well. There's a bit of a storyline between Alexander Skarsgård's character and Anya Taylor-Joy's character that maybe could have been fleshed out a little bit more, but at the same time, this isn't a romance movie. It's just about a son avenging the death of his father, and so I don't think it needed much more than that. I kind of like that it's a very simple story, that it's just literally a guy trying to get the guy that killed his dad, and I think that's kind of a fascinatingly fun way to do a film like this. It didn't really have to be super deep, and if you want it to be super deep, it can be. You can look into a lot of the mythology and the themes that are going on throughout this film, but at a base level, if you just want a really crazy action film where a monster of a man is trying to avenge the death of his father by any means necessary and sort of messing around with an entire village of people, this is absolutely the movie for you. I want to talk a little bit more about the filmmaking craft within this film, but first we're going to throw out today's sponsor, which is Magic Spoon.
I grew up in the 90s, which was absolutely the height of the cereal craze, and I ate it all the time. But it wasn't until I grew up that I realized just how full of sugar and junk most store-bought cereal is, which is why I love Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon is cereal reinvented. A serving of Magic Spoon has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, 4 net grams of carbs, and it's only 140 calories. I eat this stuff dry like a snack, or old school like I'm 10 years old again on a Saturday morning. Magic Spoon is keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. You can build your own variety box and choose from delicious flavors like peanut butter, maple waffle, and blueberry. So click the link in the description to build your own variety box today. And as a bonus, Magic Spoon is now adding Honey Nut to their permanent collection. So be sure to add Honey Nut to your custom box to try it out. Use the promo code Tommaso at checkout to get $5 off any order, or just go right to magicspoon.com/Tommaso. Thank you again to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video.
Okay, from a cinematography and filmmaking standpoint, I have always been a fan of Robert Eggers' work. I think The Witch is just a very beautifully, simply shot film. And the reason I used it as a big reference within my own short film is because I love how he can create dread and mystery with very simple cinematography. It's really not crazy setups, it's just good production design and wardrobe and characters, all that kind of stuff that I think matters more than trying to be flashy. Moving on to The Northman though, I think this is his most confident film. Not that he wasn't confident previously, but it just feels like he's taking more risks with the types of shots that he's doing. There are some elaborate wonders within this film, like borderline 1917 type stuff with deacons that are just absolutely gorgeous. But for Robert Eggers doing this for his first time, I am absolutely blown away. I can't imagine what he would do with like a war film or even more elaborate battlefield type sequences, because the stuff he does in The Northman is breathtaking. It's also his most colorful film. Of course, The Lighthouse is black and white and The Witch is very desaturated. This film has moments of pops of color with the wardrobe especially, and a lot of fire, and I think it looks gorgeous. I kind of like that he went away from his desaturated look throughout the entire film, because I think it could have been a little bit too drab. And it's interesting because the film starts quite dark and drab, and then throughout moments it starts to get a little bit more colorful, and he starts to use color and desaturation as narrative techniques as opposed to just a blanket aesthetic across the entire film. But overall, I really think this film actually has a lot to offer a lot of different audiences. Yes, it's a dark and violent film, but it's also a fun film at the same time. It's exciting to watch Skarsgård just rip around, and it's a simple story that won't leave you second guessing things or questioning things or walking away being like, what the hell did I just watch? And for people that are really into like Norse myth and all that kind of stuff and just getting into that Viking type thing, there's enough of that brainstemmy stuff in there where you're gonna be like, yeah, this is what I'm coming for. I want this like weird, crazy nonsense that comes with the territory of that material. But overall, I really think this is a mainstream sort of commercial film from Eggers that a lot of people are really going to enjoy. And it's an absolutely stellar theater experience. I went to a Thursday preview and it was basically sold out. I'm hoping this film does very well because of course I want to see more from Eggers. Add on top of all that, you've got cameos from Ethan Hawke, Willem Dafoe, Nicole Kidman. Like, you really can't go wrong with the formula when you have a cast like that and a director like Robert. You're pretty much gonna find something within this film I think you're really going to enjoy. So I do highly recommend seeing The Northman. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this film. I'm probably gonna see it again in theaters too. I would love to dive into the cinematography of this film, so we'll see what we can put together for The Northman. There's a lot of movies and TV shows that I've seen recently that I really wanna talk about. So I think moving forward, I'm gonna start doing a monthly video where it's just sort of like what I watched this month and here's my recommendations and my picks, because I just think it's a little bit difficult to start putting out videos for every single thing that I watch, because I watch a movie every day basically, or a TV show. So let me know if that's something you're interested in, this sort of like weekly, bi-weekly, or maybe monthly what I'm watching at the moment type video where I can just sort of bucket a whole bunch of stuff together. Because I also saw The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which was a lot of fun, and I also saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was fantastic. But I want a place to speak about that stuff that's a little bit more broad so I can just sort of touch on them more briefly. So if that's a video you're interested in, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, please check out my short film, go watch The Northman, and I'll see you real soon. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Patrick Tomaso, and you will see or hear me next time I feel like making a video. Peace.